Good evening, Ankita.
Hi, Shantan.
So, what do you told me you wanted to discuss something, some
Yeah,
story.
I wanted to discuss about something with you. So, as we read this chapter today, what do you think about this story birth? What is your opinion on this whole story?
So the story, it's actually I read the story, but the story is like an excerpt from the novel The Citadel, written by Cronin. The story is actually a very inspiring one, I think, for anyone who wants to join maybe the healthcare profession or for any person in general. The story highlights the values that people should have. We should care for each other and not just think about ourselves, like we see Dr. Andrew do. I also wanted to ask you something actually. In the story, I have read it that he came to the patient's house after a rather disappointing evening with his lover Christine. So, do you think it had any impact on his decision making?
Well, Shantan, I didn't read the whole novel, the Citadel, so I don't think that she, Christine, have any impact on the story. But I wanted to tell about Andrew, who was a good doctor, true doctor by heart. He actually didn't know what was going to happen. So what now? I wanted to ask you about what do you think about the other characters of the story, like the like Joe Morgan, the grandmother, and the midwife, rather the stout midwife. So what do you think about them?
The midwife, as you quoted the book, the rather stout midwife, I would like to start with her first because I think after Dr. Andrew, she had a very heavy impact on me at least. So we see the midwife lose her hope rather quickly after she saw the baby, or rather the stillborn, as she mentioned it. So it was like she passed a verdict that this is a stillborn and it is dead. But we know that the child, I should say, the infant, the newborn, was not dead. At least it had some life in it. So I think it was rather, what I should say is unprofessional of her to not even try to help someone who was born, who just came into this world. So I don't think she left a very good impression on me. What do you think about her?
Well, I think she is a very uh, experienced person, like not like very experienced person, as she don't have so much uh, medical knowledges. So, and she was also hopeless at that point of time. And but she actually helped the Dr. Andrew Manson. But yeah, she don't have much medical knowledge, so she actually resigned at that last point of time.
Yes, I think what I actually want to say is maybe she has got experience in spades, but she doesn't have enough medical knowledge to know that a stillborn, like she mentions, a baby in that condition with not breathing, not crying, could be resuscitated, brought back to life, which we see happen. So, anything else you wanted to ask?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, like, I'm not quite sure about this, but I have a doubt regarding those events, which events rather the sequence of the events that happen. So, what do you think about those events that happened during that point of time? Those when Andrew Manson brought back the baby to back to life.
Yes, actually, that was probably the most interesting part of the story, of the rather short story, I
Last
must
part.
say. So we see that when the baby is brought to the world, the baby is a stillborn. A stillborn meaning it was not breathing; it was blue. So, in a rather beautiful way, the writer describes the baby like it is perfectly formed, soft, with a pink body. But as we see, Dr. Andrew mentions the body was turning bluish. The baby was not breathing. So he did mention two conditions which, if I remember correctly, were termed like asphyxia and pallida. So, in a nutshell, the baby was not breathing. There wasn't enough oxygen going into his lungs. So, here we actually get a very fine example of how good a doctor Dr. Andrew is. Do you remember the incident where he mentioned like one case he saw a long time back, but he
Instantly
remembered the
remember.
remedy actually? It was
Exactly.
quite fascinating. So, he immediately ordered the midwife to get him the basins, some hot water, cold water, and juggle the baby in. So I would not rather go into that rather complex medical world, but I think that Dr. Andrew proved himself to be a very fine human being and a very good doctor. So, what do you think that Dr. Andrew should have done differently?
No, I don't think at that point of time, my expression would be like seriously, how I would be like how to bring back to life that baby. So I don't think about much like differently.
Uh, uh, don't you have means? Do you completely agree with his judgment? Like he chose the mother first. He saved the mother, who
Yeah, of
herself was in a
course.
rather precarious position at that point of time. So I think it shows he has rather good decision making skills and very good perspective. At that point of time, under pressure, he was able to recall a remedy. He was able to save the mother, bring back a child which was considered dead, and at the same time face, I think, at least some amount of opposition from the midwife. The
Yes.
midwife
Like she
was
was
not
hopeless.
cooperating. What
She
do you think?
wasn't. Yes, she wasn't cooperating. Rather, she was hopeless.
Hmm.
She resigned at last moment. So
Yes, means I personally think when you are trying to do something and someone else who is supposed to be on your side is like, no, it can't be done. So it rather demotivates me. It decreases my capacity, or rather my capability to do the work. So do you agree with that?
yeah, I agree with that. I really agree with that because she was hopeless at last point of time.
So, yeah, so of the all other key characters, I think the midwife, Dr. Andrew, they left the most heaviest impression on me. So, would you like to mention any other character who maybe left a rather heavy impression on you? What
No,
do you
it's
think?
not like no any other character is not like there. Uh, no,
Okay, so but another interesting character is there, I think. Miss Susan Morgan's
Susan
mother.
Morgan's mother. Yeah,
Actually, do
she
you?
was there.
I
A
can't
tall,
actually.
grey-haired, wise old woman.
Yes, I couldn't actually means remember the exact description from the book, but a wise woman indeed. So, do you recall any incident? Means I personally don't recall incident which proved her to be wise.
She she came to ask Dr. Andrews to take a cup of tea, like in such a village, and villages we don't actually see uh, like the doctors come and when they see a complicated uh, situation they just go away from there.
Okay, I understand. So you wanted to say that Dr. Andrew, rather unexperienced, we see it mentioned, a rookie in the field of medicine. So she might have thought that, like most other unexperienced doctors or other sidekicks of Dr. Page, would see a complicated case and just run away. We see she tried to stop her by offering a cup of tea. So, but Dr. Andrew, the ever perspective person he is, caught her doing it red-handed. I remember reading that she assured her that he would not go away, he would not run away,
And run
he
away.
would stay till the end, and that he did. He was able to save the child, save the mother, and at the end proved to be a very good human being, a true doctor at heart, and a very good human being with good moral values. Well, that was a rather enlightening conversation.
Yeah, that was for me too. Well, let us meet some other day with some other topic.